In the 60s, Glasgow was synonymous with violence. Knife fights between rival gangs were common sights on the streets.
Their weapons included knives, chains, pick handles.
As the years ticked on, similar pictures splashed across our screens.
What's the matter here, man?
You anything sharp on you?
A new generation of disgruntled kids with knives causing chaos after dark.
Just wait there a minute, boys.
It was honestly, it was like putting your keys in your pocket or grabbing your phone or your wallet. It was just like part of your itinerary of leaving the house.
Scotland may have largely cleaned up its reputation, but violence is still tearing communities apart.
A life sentence for stabbing a schoolboy to death because he came from a different scheme. Justin McLaughlin was just 14 years old when he was murdered by a 16-year-old on a Glasgow railway station platform. Other stories, and a murder inquiry is underway following the death of a teenager in Glasgow. 16-year-old Corey McCrimmon died yesterday. A 13-year-old boy appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court in connection with the death.
The face of gang culture is evolving.
Kids do get to see a lot more violence online. It might be cool in front of your friends and that, but it's not going to be cool if you're sitting in a prison cell when none of your friends are there.
Or they could literally be carrying in and all you've got is a pair of two hands.
And it's families who are forced to pick up the pieces.
But it's just an innocent lad, you know. See, if it wasn't Connor that night, it would have been somebody else. It would have been something without a doubt. Without a doubt.
In the heart of Govan is the Glasgow School of Wrestling, run by a somewhat unlikely figure.
So the day-to-day reality of growing up in a gang, especially somewhere in Govan, it was quite rough, to be honest.
David McCallum, better known as Ravy Davy, wants to keep kids in the ring and off the streets. Here, they practice WWE-style wrestling, combining sport with theatre.
When I was out in the gang, even though it was like dangerous a lot of the times I was saying, I felt safe. I felt I was around people that would look after me and help me and say, and it actually turned out that was wrong, because growing up I'd end up being stabbed like 17 times and none of my so-called friends were there to help.
After losing his mum at just 6 years old, Davy ended up on a violent and dangerous path.
The social workers used to always say when I'd get reports and stuff done that I actually wasn't a badly behaved kid. I just never had an outlet, I just never had anything to do. If I had like a job or if I had something to do, they feel like I wouldn't get into trouble. Kids also need role models maybe who have been part of that lifestyle but actually know how bad it is.
This boy, who's 13, has been coming along for a year.
You said that you found Ravy Davy on TikTok. What other things do you see on there?
I did delete TikTok because it was getting a bit, because people were making accounts about chanting, people like kicking about with gangs. So I just deleted TikTok and don't use it.
He told us that he and his friends are often faced with violence.
Some of their cousins kick about with like gangs that carry knives, so we don't really go near them, but if we need to go somewhere and they're there, we try and go another way, but try and avoid them as much as possible.
How does that make you feel, knowing that folk are carrying knives?
Well, I don't feel as much safe as I would usually be, because anything can happen when they're drunk.
It's a feeling a lot of the young people here, like 16-year-old Danny, are familiar with.
You're scared, like to go out at night into the towns and stuff in case something does happen. Like, it's not always going to happen, but there's always that chance that it could. Especially like people like my age, like 16 to like 18-ish. They could literally be carrying in and all you've got is a pair of two hands and they've got a blade on you, and like that could do some serious damage.
What do you think is the thing that would get people away from that? Do you think it is having these kind of positive activities to put your energy into instead?
They need like something you can enjoy, some sort of art. Like David's the best example. He switched his life right around for the wrestling.
I've got you mean?
Davy says kids need to know they have a chance at success.
I try and talk to them like somebody who gets them their level. I feel like I understand a lot of them.
Caden has been training with Davy since the school opened.
You're going to be tired, but you know what's going to happen? You'll be tired in the future when you get a big, nice, fancy bed to sit in because you're making hundreds of money as a big, famous wrestler. You know what I mean?
I got picked on. I was a laugh. I was getting laughed at, and I was just a big joke to everybody. But now I can literally talk. I'm in front of crowds and that, talking to people that I've never seen in my life. You know what I mean?
So you think your confidence is the main thing that has really changed since you've come along here?
Yes.
And you're back at school now?
Yes, I'm actually going to college. Yes.
Brilliant.
So I'm starting college in a few days.
For other kids here, wrestling isn't just about sports or community, it's an escape from the threat of violence.
Being here at the wrestling, do you find that just takes you away from that? It gives you a kind of different world to come into?
Because it gives me a good few hours just to stay away from them and go out with my normal friends.
Most kids in Scotland will thankfully never face the threat of knife crime, but there has been an increase in the number of people carrying weapons in Scotland in recent years, and crimes involving them rose by 20% between 2019 and 2023. For families who are caught up in the violence, the impact is devastating.
He was in more than he was out, maybe so. That was the first he'd been out in ages, actually, that night that happened to him.
6 years ago, Linda Fraser's 18-year-old son Connor went out to a party with some friends.
I'd mailed him that morning, actually, where have you? And he's like, Hollytown. I'm like, Hollytown? You never go to Hollytown? It was about 5:30 that morning. I was leaving to go to my work. It was 12 o'clock. It was my friend, it was actually his wee brother's mum that had called me and told me he'd been stabbed in the neck.
Connor was murdered in an unprovoked attack by Jolene Docherty. The then 17-year-old had a history of violence and knife offences, and the murder made her one of Scotland's youngest female killers.
It shouldn't have happened. She's in her body.
I can't get rid of any of them.
I'd be stuck up
In the waiting room and it always will be, Selena. Different wee things in his room, like things, you know, old stuff, like he had really old trainers and things like that. He's still got all his good stuff there, but just parting with wee things like that was hard enough. But his room will always be the same. No.
Linda and Janet say Connor would never have expected to be confronted with a knife.
Did you ever have any fear that something like that could happen to him when he was going out?
Not like that, no, Selena. Obviously you do worry, you know yourself, young laddies. But it's just an innocent lad, isn't it? See, if it wasn't Connor that night, it would have been somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been something, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
She ripped all her hearts right out.
You took my only son away from me.
I know.
The family say the increase in knife crime in recent years is a constant reminder of what happened to them.
There's that much crime happening now. They're getting younger. It's worrying. To be honest with you, I'm glad that I've not got any more kids. It's I've had a lot now to play, never mind them growing up.
Do you feel like anything's changed since Connor died?
It looks as if it's getting worse. See, when we were younger, it's the ages, that would even cross your head at certain ages. This is the scary thing. I mean, like 13-year-olds, you're still away and you're still, you know, it's, I don't know.
For Janet now, watching her other two teenage grandsons grow up is extremely stressful.
It's just a constant worry when they go out.
My mum's a lot worse than us. She's a worrier.
I miss him so much.
It broke her. Lost him.
She didn't know what she'd done.
even us didn't care.
Look.
Linda and Janet know nothing will bring their boy back, but what they do know is that no one else should suffer in the way they have. The Violence Reduction Unit has a big role to play in that. Jimmy Paul's been in charge for a year. He says behaviour among school-aged children is generally getting worse, and social media may go some way to explaining it.
We've spoken to children all over Scotland in schools, and they have concerns over accessing images of violence and videos of violence, concerns over how social media might be used to fuel acts of violence and meeting to fight.
Combined with the impacts of COVID, the cost of living crisis and austerity, Jimmy worries about what the future may hold.
We are hearing from teachers, police officers, social workers that their experience is that they are seeing more of this. And my concern over a lack of investment in youth services or the role of social media not handled correctly is that it might result in further and more serious violence.
Since the Violence Reduction Unit was set up 20 years ago, there has been a fall in violent crime, in murders in Scotland. For a lot of families that we're speaking to, though, it does feel like things are getting worse again. Families are frightened and children are scared to go out in the streets. What is your message to them about how they can reasonably feel today?
Their concerns are valid. Everyone feels, and individuals and communities feel, violence differently, and it's not nice to be concerned about your safety or the safety of children around you. We will continue to work diligently to understand the root causes and deliver improvements and continue to reduce violence.
Jordan Robertson has found himself on both sides of knife crime.
The last time I was in this part was about 10 years ago. I actually got stabbed in the head with a bottle. I ended up in hospital that time, man, and that was a bit of a crazy night.
10 years ago, it must just feel like a completely different lifetime to you now.
Feels like I'm visiting a past life. It's kind of strange.
He's been attacked several times and has also spent years in prison for attempted murder and possession of a knife.
It was like a comfort blanket to me. It made me feel comfier, and I don't know why. When I think about it now, I felt me, I don't know, I just had pure anxiety if I didn't have it. They're quite unpredictable places, the schemes, because you're in poorer areas. You've got a lot of damaged people, taking a lot of trauma out for households, for younger life. So that thing where I talk about the knife being an insurance policy, I'd say that's very still much common these days.
Jordan says one of the main reasons young people get into trouble is because they lack aspiration.
When I was growing up, the biggest entrepreneur in the area was the person that sold the most drugs. The most respected was the person that stabbed the most people. They didn't get bothered.
He says nowadays there's an added factor for kids to contend with. That's exposure to violent content online.
See, when you look at drill music, that's quite popular these days. All that is about stabbing people, the gang stuff, especially in London. It's just about what murders, it's all the kind of the vocabulary they use. A lot of young people are listening to that.
Now, Jordan is 2 years sober and spends his time creating documentaries and online content. He says his life of crime is behind him.
It can be very hard to break away from the pact because a lot of people stay stuck in that level of mindset. Very rarely does one person go and everybody follows. It's usually one breaks away and gets outcast.
If you'd had a role model like yourself when you were young that you can see you have done bad things in the past but you are able to move on from it, what kind of difference do you think that would have made?
Oh, a massive difference, because see, for me, it's all the authority figures in my life, parents, school teachers, anybody, police, they would always tell me what I was doing wrong. They never told me what I was doing right.
There are people in communities across the country trying to help children who are most at risk. But for those who've already slipped through the cracks, the solution is anyone's guess.
You usually find solace with people that are also in the same position, and when you're in that kind of damaged peer group, it's sad to say the collected mentality usually results in negative behaviour.
I hope things can change. I hope and pray things can change for the generations still to grow up in this world. There's always hope, isn't there?